All right, good morning. We're here for our weekly Marion County Board of Commissioners meeting. It's Wednesday, August 14th, 2019. We're in the Senator Hearing Room at 555 Court Street, Northeast in Salem. And as always, we love to start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you will join us, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh my God. Yes, I forgot to say it is 9 o'clock.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm striving for perfection, but I have this critic here on my left that is pointing out that I did not didn't say the time. So we are here at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's great to be here. First thing on our agenda is public comment. We have nobody signed up for public comment. Just want to make sure that anybody that's here have a chance to sign up. Okay. We'll go right into our consent calendar, and I believe...
Yes, Chair Cameron, to make a motion to approve the consent calendar this morning. First is under Board of Commissioners, approve an order for the revised bylaws from Marion County Public Safety Coordinating Council, Business Services. Approve the recommendation to update the title of classification 437 from Parts Clerk to Park Specialist. Adjust upward pay grades for 6 classifications, 437 Parts Specialist, 438 Fleet Specialist, 434 Fleet Shop Supervisor, 552 Mental Health Specialist, 554 Mental Health Specialist 2, 555 Mental Health Specialist 3, uphold the pay grade for 2 classifications, number 433 Mechanic and 435 Mechanic Senior. Health and Human Services approve amendment number 6 to the Provider Services Agreement with Mid-Valley Behavioral Care Network to add $6,038,778 for a total of $43,959,246.75 from Mental Health Provider Services. Public Works received notice of a hearings officer's decision denying conditional use variance case 19010 Maddox. And the final is the Treasurer's Office approving order distributing Oregon State Forestry timber revenue as per ORS 530.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the consent calendar. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay. First item under action is Business Services. Consider approval of an order adopting a new Marion County Administrative Policy, number 307, Electronic Employee Directory. Colleen, welcome. It's good to see you back and smiling this morning.
Thank you, sir. For the record, Colleen Coons-Chaffins, Business Services Director. Today, here for you to consider adopting the new Administrative Policy 307, which is our Electronic Employee Directory. The purpose is to establish rules for managing our internal electronic employee directory, but also that it's intended for informational purposes related to county business to help facilitate communications among county employees, as well as just for the efficiency of Marion County residents. So I've worked with several people on this policy, including IT, our central services teams, vetted this. This was vetted with the unions as well. So we just want to get this out there so people can start identifying people as they come to the offices. That's part of it. While we know we all wear badges, they're not always in the most spot. They're not always around somebody's neck. They're not always on somebody's person. And so we're trying to make sure that if somebody comes into a receptionist area, that somebody can be identified if needed. That will either have a picture that the employee, as needed, can be opted out. That memo will be going out later today to the employees, giving them that opportunity. And then what will be listed on there is their desk phone primarily and their office location. If there are any other questions, I'm happy to answer them now.
Well, I do have one, and I'm sorry, we've talked about this, I just don't remember the answer. So available outside of the county?
No, it's for internal
Just-
use
okay.
only. Yes, sir.
Because somehow I was going through questions that some would say, yes, you'd like that, and some would say, in today's world, no.
Internal use only.
All right, thank you.
Any questions?
No, this is good. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
take a motion.
It's my move.
I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we approve an order adopting the new Marion County Administrative Policy Number 307, Electronic Employee Directory.
Second.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Thanks, Colleen.
Thank you.
Okay, our next item under action is under Health and Human Services. Consider approval of an intergovernmental agreement with Marion County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $300,000 to provide mobile crisis services through June 30th, 2021. And I see Anne Marie and Sydney are here today. Welcome to Rock Stars.
Rock stars.
Oh, wow, that's a nice way to start the morning.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The
Hi,
work you
good
do,
morning.
you're
I'm
rock
Sydney
stars.
Nestor, a Division Director with Marion County Health and Human Services, and I am going to let Anne Marie take the lead on this.
Good morning, Anne Marie Banfield with Health and Human Services. We are looking for our next biennial contract with the Sheriff's Office to provide mobile crisis services to the Marion County community. We've been working with them since 2014, very successfully providing mobile crisis services, having a qualified mental health professional in the cars with Marion County Sheriff's Office, as well as 2 other agencies, responding at the point of crisis during a 911 call for a mental health crisis in our county.
Well, we all know how successful this program is. Any questions or comments?
No, I got to visit with Anne Marie yesterday at the Undersheriff's retirement, and she told me a little bit about this. I think it's fabulous. I think it's a wonderful program, and I'm very grateful for your team and the work that you all do. I know you have a very committed team there, and we're blessed to have you, and thank you for all the work you've done over the years building that team, because I know that's not something that you just turn on one day. That's years of hard
No.
work.
We've got a great team, and they really appreciate the recognition, so thank you.
So just to clear in my mind, I know we have 3 teams now and 1 more coming on. This contract is just for,
This is for the Sheriff's Office, for the team that we've had since the beginning in
Right.
2014.
right, this is not for the Salem or the Woodburn, this is just the Marion County, 4 days a week, 10 hours.
Yes.
And each one of those teams is 4 days a week, 10 hours, correct? So,
We have one team with Salem right now, Salem PD, that's 5/8, working the day shift, Monday through Friday. But
Okay.
as soon as their 4th team, they're going to pick up that 2nd team to make 4 teams total. As soon as that 4th team comes on, it will be 4 10s for everyone, covering from 8 a.m. until midnight every day.
great, okay.
All right, if you're ready, I'd make a motion, we do approve the intergovernmental agreement with Marion County Sheriff's Office, amount of $300,000 to provide mobile crisis services through June 30th, 2021.
Second the motion.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thank you for the great work.
Thank you.
Under Public Works, the next item, consider approval of an order appointing Cayley, Westerman Lewis, and Kurt Taqman to the Marion County Solid Waste Management Advisory Council with terms ending July 22nd, 2023. And I apologize if I did not get the name right.
You got it right.
Did I?
You did.
Wow.
Nailed it.
I know it.
Oh, see, I did something right.
Things
Okay.
happen sometimes.
Cayley, welcome, and
Thank
Brian, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Brian May, Environmental Services Division Manager. And before I turn things over to Cayley, I want to give a little background on our Solid Waste Materials Advisory Council. This was established in February of '89. This is a public body that makes recommendations to the Board of Commissioners on kind of all those issues related to solid waste. There's 8 citizen members and 8 industry members that make up this 16-member council. Currently, we have 2 open positions. One is a community organization position and a chamber of commerce that we're actively seeking members for. This group meets every fourth Tuesday of each month at 5:30 here at Courthouse Square up on the 5th floor in the board's meeting room. This is a very unique group that provides a lot of expertise and guidance in our solid waste system and kind of makes it what it is today. Important topics are, our changes in our recycling requirements with the changes in China market. We are currently getting poised to undertake a master planning effort. Our solid waste management plan is now 10 years old, and with all the recent changes, it's time to kind of do an update to that. So this group will be very integral in that. And also currently we have a facilities assessment being performed or just starting here next week that will involve SWAMAC members for their input as we move that forward. So again, this group does a lot of key information gathering for staff and for helping our solid waste system be as successful as it is today. So I'll quit talking and turn things over to Cayley to tell a little bit about herself.
Yes, I am Cayley Westerman Lewis. I actually work for Marion County Environmental Services in the Water Quality Division. I'm one of 2 environmental specialists there, focusing mainly on water quality permits. And so I've heard about SWAMAC just through Brian and their team with waste reduction, and that was really just a jumble of letters to me at work. Didn't really know what they did, but after looking into it a lot, it was something that I really wanted to get involved in. Prior to my work at Marion County, I worked at the Port of Portland as a project lead for their waste reduction group. And so I spent a lot of time working with the businesses and partners of PDX to try and implement a lot of waste reduction programs there, doing composting, recycling, you name it, durables programs, and moved into Salem, got back into water quality, and haven't really had a chance to work in waste. It's kind of funny though, I joke that a lot of times once you've worked in waste, it's hard to get out of that. Once you've dug in someone else's trash, that's kind of a lifelong bond that you form. So that, the opportunity to serve with SWAMAC and to provide feedback and really just be involved in my community was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up. So I'm excited to be working with the group and to kind of look at some of the issues that Brian has talked about and to provide my feedback. So.
Great. I've got a question. In your application, you mentioned you've got some good ideas in the reduction. And is there some things that you've noticed within our Marion County waste management system that you said, hey, this would be a great area if we could really implement some things? Can you talk about? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Just looking at the data, I think my mindset is really a data-driven one, and looking at what are the biggest contributors to waste. Food is a really big one. DEQ labels that as one of the big factors in terms of waste, but also just the climate impact of food being wasted. I think that one is also a really great one to focus on, because you look at issues of access and just malnutrition with schools and students. I think that it would be really great to be able to focus on programs that look to either reduce food waste in the first place or to find alternative routes to get food into hands of people that need them. At the port, we worked on a program. We had a really successful food donation program. So we partnered with all of the restaurants, and they were able to donate the excess food that they had at the end of every day, put it in a localized refrigerator, and then we had a partner, Urban Gleaners, who came to pick it up 3 days a week and distributed that throughout the community. And so it was a really successful program that was kind of the backbone to what we did. And I would love to see something like that happen, especially downtown here, where you've got a really centralized group of restaurants to be able to kind of work to provide that to people who actually need the food instead of it going to waste. So things like that, I think, would be great programs to look at. But then also just looking at the data and seeing what are the biggest issues that we face here in Marion County, and then what are going to be the biggest environmental impacts if we're able to reduce that waste.
Great.
Yeah.
That's a challenge. I know the restaurant waste has been a challenge for us to get our hands around on the food waste. And it sounds like you need to apply for one of our waste reduction coordinator jobs.
Well,
Maybe you can do that.
If she's are you doing septics too?
No, I'm just
No.
doing stormwater.
Yeah, because we don't want anybody associated with septic out.
Oh, you mean you don't want to move them anywhere.
Right.
Right. I
Yeah,
understand.
she's got a limited
Is also
crew
pretty
there.
important, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can recruit from other,
I
Right.
wanted to tell Cayley, I'm enmeshed in garbage too, just so you know, can't get out of it.
Yes, I know, yeah.
But I'm just looking, I could be referring to you, just so you know.
I can just visualize this mountain of garbage that you're trying to.
I've been in there. Now, a master's in environmental science. I tried to, when I was in college, take some of that, and I really couldn't find what I wanted. So where is that from? And if you wouldn't mind, where did you get this degree from?
Yeah, so I got my master's at Portland State.
At Portland State?
Yeah, so I graduated, the reason I came to Salem is I was going to school at Willamette, and got my bachelor's in environmental science there. I focused mainly on water quality at Willamette, and I worked in a water quality lab for 4 years and decided that I really didn't like working by myself in an isolated lab. And that I was really actually passionate about working with people and working in education. So I had an opportunity to get my master's degree. I had my tuition paid for. And so the program was a really great fit. It was a blend of environmental science, looking at kind of natural resources, but really focusing heavily on education and how people learn, how to develop programs that are going to be really attainable for people to understand as you're teaching. And so I looked at a lot of pedagogy. I looked at a lot of just like building curriculum. And so that, that taught me a lot about how to communicate with people and how to create programs and do a lot of program development so that people are really going to understand what you're talking about. I think that blends well a lot with the work that I do with the county and the complex nature of some of water quality issues and now waste issues as well.
Well, it's certainly going to bring some expertise
Yeah, it's great.
to the board.
Saw
Wonderful
that.
addition.
before I took this job, I didn't know people that were so excited about garbage.
Oh, yeah.
But now, there's a whole group of you
there is.
guys.
Too.
I'm telling you.
It's great to have,
Maybe Brian could be in that group. He might have
yes,
garbage
please.
in his veins.
Yeah, he's helping Sam. He's trying to pull Sam out of
the
the garbage.
Yeah,
Kind of reminds me of the story Troy told yesterday about running out the back door and chasing somebody. What was I going to say? I got distracted.
by the
No,
amount
by your
of
comment.
garbage.
No, just, it's amazing how the average citizen doesn't realize how much goes into,
That's true.
and I think we've made progress in the last 10 or 15 years of getting people to think about reducing, reusing, and then recycling. I just don't, I think what we still have is those first two R's, right?
Definitely.
Is the reduction and reusing. And I think about it because I went through the master's recycling program, and I think about even when I go, and I'm not gonna name the store but I go to a certain store where they have the bulk products, and I'm thinking I'm still using a plastic bag even when I'm buying a little bit of spice, and I go, okay, I need to have my own little spice containers so I can reuse those when I do the bulk, because you're not necessarily reusing that. There's so much to think about consciously, and then, it's been hard for me to, like I have a portable ice chest, and you're gonna, I don't think I
I
could put
pass
one of
them
your
back
big
and
salmons in it, right?
Yeah.
Right, and I've given you some of those things to reuse for the salmon, but I have one in each one of my vehicles, well, two vehicles, so that when I go to the grocery store, I take that in with me, and, I've got a lot to teach people, but I become more aware of it just
By
being
sitting next to Sam.
well, yeah, that, and just the programs that we offer, and
Yep.
saying, well, if we're gonna teach the average citizen these things and expect them to do it as leaders and county commissioners, we better be doing it. So when are you gonna take the master recycler class?
I gave Sherry my list. I still have a list of ride-alongs that I have to do. And I guess
Well, that's not a ride-along.
Well,
No,
I think
no.
the Master Recycler program is open for
Yes.
application, so I
Isn't that
think
handy?
it might be a
Start
good time.
September
I don't know if
12th.
I'd make the cut. I mean, it was an application process. I
No.
imagine it's pretty stiff, it sounds like.
We
There's
can
a lot
put
of
in a good word
expertise.
for you, so.
Yeah. They'll dumb it down for you.
Well,
Right, yeah,
that'd
exactly.
be
They did
helpful.
for me,
Yeah,
tell me.
I think I'm
Trust
going to
me.
need that.
Yeah. Good. We ready?
No, I got one other thing. So Christmas time, whoever gets Kevin's name, he's looking for little spice containers. Will you file that away? Good night. All right.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve an order appointing Cayley, Westerman, Lewis, and Kurt Taqman to the Marion County Solid Waste Management Advisory Council with terms ending July 22nd, 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Thank you for coming today, and thank you for your service in Marion County as well as for your volunteer work. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Where you at,
Wait,
Sam?
we got,
Just so we know, it's for two people that
Right.
we're approving? All right.
correct. He mentioned them both in the motion.
Are you voting yes or no?
Yes.
All right, we have 3 yeses, and with that, we'll move on to the next item. So thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Still under Public Works, consider approval of a public improvement agreement with Dirt and Aggregate Interchange, Inc. in the amount of $134,722 for 2019 guardrail replacement and upgrades. Ryan, good morning.
Good. Oh,
No, I was just going to say, Dirt and Aggregate Interchange. We went from a pile of garbage to dirt, so
Get
here
out.
we go.
all right. Good morning. Ryan Cruther, Marion County Capital Projects Manager, here to talk to you about our 2019 guardrail replacement project. Our project locations, we've got 4 project locations within this project. The first is Sunnyside Road Southeast at Rogers Creek, and then 3 locations along Abaquah Road Northeast at mileposts 4.27, 4.76, and 5.30. 4.27 is at a small bridge. The others are at roadside hazards that exist along this corridor. So the scope of this project is to install guardrail at 4 locations where the guardrail is either substandard or entirely missing in order to improve the safety for motorists using these corridors. So we do engineer these projects. We look at the embedment depth for the guardrail posts, the length of need for the guardrail, and many other aspects. Any flares that are required. It's a full drawing set that we go out and we bid. For this project, our low bid was received from Dirt and Aggregate Interchange Incorporated at $134,722. Assuming that we approve this contract, we expect construction to occur between August of 2019 and October of 2019. Do you have any questions about this project?
I do. Where are they? How many different locations are these guardrails going in? Did I miss that?
Yeah, I think so, but it didn't really say I was going to ask kind of similar question. Why are they selected? He said worn out or not there, but are there accidents there? Are they criteria that this could be a bad place? How do you choose?
So our engineering department works with our operations department to look for areas where we're in need of guardrail. So this year on Sunnyside Road, and I will actually come back up to these maps, Sunnyside Road Southeast, we have a paving project that's going through this section. Because we're paving and we are lifting the asphalt, it increases the inadequacy of the guardrail that's existing, and we want to get that replaced while we're improving the roadway. As far as Abaquah Road Northeast, it was looked at as a corridor, and it was determined that if we address these 3 locations, we could address all of the issues within that corridor. So that's how that was selected for this project in conjunction with our operations department.
Okay. Did I get it?
Yep.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I was asked to
Jane.
take a look at this contract last night, and I did notice that in the bid documents, it says that the contract work should be completed no later than July 31st, 2019, and there's no official term of work to be done, the time frame in the contract. So when you make your motion, you may want to add the term of the contract in your motion.
To what date?
I think Ryan said it was between August and October of 2019.
It was on the slide. You want to go back to that slide? That'll help him.
Yes. Yes, as she said, it took longer to get through the contracting process than anticipated, so we anticipate construction occurring between August and October of this year.
All right. Chair Cameron, I make a motion that we do approve the public improvement agreement with Dirt and Aggregate Interchange Incorporated in the amount of $134,722 for 2019 guardrail replacement and upgrades with work to be completed between August and October 2019.
I second the motion.
Does that cover it?
Yes.
Thanks, Jane. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye?
Aye. Thanks, Ryan. Always appreciate your presentations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it helps me because I'm very visual in thinking about where these projects are. Sunnyside Road, probably quite a ways out south, I imagine, where the road winds down before the freeway. And
Exactly.
Abaquah, beautiful, beautiful road up there. That's great. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next item under Public Works is to consider an adoption of an administrative ordinance granting zone change, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, zone change comprehensive plan amendment, conditional use, ZCCPCU, case number 18-008, Apostolic Christian Faith of Silverton. Joe, welcome.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Joe Fenimore. This item was an application to change the zone from AR3 to public and change the comprehensive plan designation from rural residential to public on a 2-acre portion of about a 7.5-acre parcel. And then for a conditional use to establish a cemetery on the newly rezoned portion of the property, which is located on Peter Road in Almsville. The hearings officer conducted a public hearing on February 13, 2019, and on June 5th issued a recommendation the board grant the request subject to certain conditions. The board held a public hearing on July 24th, and after considering all the information in the record and evidence in the record, the board approved the request subject to those conditions. The conditions place a limited use overlay on the property. The overlay would allow a private cemetery as an accessory to an existing church. All other uses listed in the P zone would require a conditional use. Other conditions require the applicant to provide evidence that access requirements for the Almsville Fire District are met and that necessary permits are obtained or have been obtained from the Department of Water Resources for the well on the property. The ordinance and findings have been prepared. A notice of adoption was given on August 7th. The ordinance is now set for formal adoption. The board has the options of adopting the ordinance as written, direct staff to prepare a modified ordinance, or choose not to adopt the ordinance at this time. And I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? We went through this.
I'm fine.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm good as well. Mr. Chair, I move that we adopt administrative ordinance granting zone change comprehensive plan amendment conditional use, case number 18-008, Apostolic Christian Faith of Silverton.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, thanks,
Thank you.
Joe. A little more complicated. We'll see you later. Okay, under Sheriff's Office, consider approval of a contract for services with Trinity Services Group, Inc. for the amount of $7,967,186.30 for food services at the Marion County Jail and Transition Center for June 30th, 2024. And it looks like Commander Larson is here. And I think the 30 cents is probably for the biscuit I ate every year when we do the tour.
Why don't you just pay it back?
Good morning,
Welcome,
Mr.
Tad.
Chairman and members of the board. For the record, my name is Tad Larson. I'm the jail commander at the Marion County Sheriff's Office.
For the record, I'm Lieutenant Jacob Ramsey with the Institutions Division, Sheriff's Office.
Lieutenant, can you make sure you pull that microphone up when you're speaking? Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Welcome, by the way. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Commissioners. As you mentioned, that we will charge you for that biscuit next time. There is a point-of-sale service offered by this vendor that wasn't previously offered, so we'll be able to scan a card next time you want to come in.
Yeah, for the 30 cents, that extra biscuit. Yeah.
Okay. So it's one of our larger contracts. We were end of life with our current food service provider, so Lieutenant Ramsey and his team put out a request for proposal, and Trinity came out on top of that process. So option for annual renewals and a pretty good deal on the food. I just want to cover that food service contract is not just for the inmate meals. We also cover the meals at the transition center to include our work crew meals. So the work crews that you see out in the community with the deputies, they're also using the same food service provider. And our union's contract with our jail employees provide a staff meal at the facility there too. So food service is on the inmate side, that's the bulk of that project, but the staff meals are included in that as well.
So I have a question. Is this the same group that was providing before? Same company? Or is
No,
this a new change?
Summit competed but did not win the award.
And do we know where they have provided in institutions like ours? Where
Trinity?
Yeah.
Yes, there are in other jails in Oregon already.
Okay. Well, I'm surprised they didn't call us to sample the food to make sure it was okay.
We're available, just so you know.
We'll do that after Labor Day.
And I'm wondering, it's kind of related, so other than price, RFP puts out, how you interview other institutions perhaps, but how do you get some idea of quality, quantity, et cetera? Price is just one thing.
We're pretty fortunate in our industry. There's only usually 2 or 3 contractors available at any one time for food service in institutions our size, and we've been very fortunate with both of the last couple of vendors. We've been able to do reference checks in other jails, including Oregon jails. So even to include site visits when we're doing other jail inspections. So Trinity's providing excellent service in Douglas County and Lane County at the moment.
So now we use some of the inmates, I don't know the proper term anymore, to help with the preparation and stuff. That'll continue?
Yep.
Everything the same?
They will, every food service contract since the history of this new jail has opened has included inmate labor. So it's an inmate worker position. It's an opportunity for sentenced inmates to earn some time off of their sentence and also learn some trade skills. And this vendor offers the same type of baking program that Summit did as well. So in addition to food prep on the line, they'll also be learning some other skills that they could use in the community.
Great. All right, ready? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, we'll just have to make sure when we do our jail tour that the rolls, I call them biscuits, but the rolls are just as good as the old ones.
We'll have some ready.
You'll be able to tell. So, Chair Cameron, I'd like to make a motion that we do approve a contract for services with Trinity Services Group Incorporated in the amount of $7,967,186.30 for food services Marion County Jail and Transition Center through June 30th, 2024.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks for your service. Okay. We're past 9:30, it's 9:32. So I'll open a public hearing to consider zone change, comprehensive plan amendment, conditional use petition ZCCP, CUP, case number 18-006, Marion Investment Group LLC. Joe, welcome back.
Once again, Commissioners, for the record, Joe Fenimore. This item before you is an application to amend the comprehensive plan designation from industrial to primary agriculture and change the zone from unincorporated community industrial to exclusive farm use on about 5.35 acres, then to partition a 17.03 acre parcel into 3 parcels of approximately 14 acres, 2 acres, and 0.71 acres each, and then for a conditional use to expand the Marion Resource and Recovery Facility onto adjacent property. The hearings officer held a public hearing on January 30th, 2019, and on July 5th issued a recommendation to deny the request based on the existing record at that time. The facility is located on Brook Lake Road and needs to expand. The only available land for expansion is EFU zone land to the south. In order to expand into the EFU zone, the property containing the existing facility must first be rezoned to EFU. Then it can be expanded if the conditional use is approved, if the criteria are met. The facility is located in the industrial zone in the Brooks-Hopmer urban unincorporated community. When the community plan was acknowledged, it allowed for EFU zoning inside the boundary for the Governmental waste energy facility, which was considered a utility facility. It was not clear to the hearings officer if the existing facility qualifies as a utility facility, though it was set up by an independent garbage haulers to meet local and state recycling mandates and provide services to the waste energy facility. The board will need to determine whether or not it is a utility facility under the Brooks-Hopmer community plan. The hearings officer found that with conditions, it is likely that the proposal would be consistent with statewide planning goals. The hearings officer then reviewed the applicable comprehensive plan policies, as well as zone change and conditional use criteria, and identified areas where additional information is needed. The hearings officer concludes that not all the applicable provisions have been fully addressed, but believes the applicants may, by furnishing additional information, argument, and evidence, prove that all the applicable criteria will be met. The applicant has submitted additional information for you to consider. It's at the end of your packet, and we'll present it to you shortly. They identified and addressed each of the issues identified by the hearings officer in the recommendation. The hearings officer's recommendation includes a list of 16 recommended conditions if the request is approved. The conditions include right-of-way dedication, non-remonstrance agreement for participation in future improvements to the Brook Lake Road corridor, survey and plat requirements for dividing the property, obtaining all required permits, limiting access to Brook Lake Road, and constructing a 30-foot wide landscape berm to buffer properties to the south and east. The board has the option of continuing the public hearing, close the hearing and leave the record open, or close the hearing and approve, modify, or deny the request, or remand the matter back to the hearings officer. I'll be happy to try and answer any questions.
Questions for Joe at this time?
I have something personal. I'm trying to, and I don't really probably even need to, but I'm just going to interject it. I always think when I get into these cases, the closeness relationship. Yeah, somebody's calling, said you better straighten this up. I was involved in the formation of this group in the 80s. Care for them a lot, but I have no financial interest, or I don't even think too close relatives. But there's nothing that would preclude me from dealing with this matter. That's it.
Thanks for that declaration. Any questions for Joe at this point in time?
I think I want to hear other folks signed up for public
Okay.
comment.
Thanks, Joe. We'll see you back up, okay? So now I'd like to call, we have 2 people signed up in support of this public hearing change. Jeff Tross, right? And Kevin Hines. Unless you have a visual presentation to. You do?
It's not electronic.
Huh? That's good over on the side then. Yeah. Thank you. Welcome, by the way.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Yeah, you might as well bring it close.
It kind of looks like the easel that Commissioner had when he was doing this painting a couple of years ago. I've seen pictures of it. Whatever happened to that painting?
It was bought.
Are you an artist?
Oh, sure.
But his easel ended up having paint splattered all over it.
Gloria bought it, just so you know. It exists.
She did. Did you hear that, Jane?
I did.
Our former legal counsel bought a painting that he made. Probably
Seems like
paid,
some sort of conflict. Don't you think that's a conflict?
probably paid big bucks for it.
I don't think so, but I don't get too
I wonder
much
where
out of
mine
that.
went. Wonder where mine went. Yeah, I don't know. Shram, I don't know if the camera is gonna be able to pick that up or not.
We'll do our best.
He's all
He's
right.
okay? He's giving a thumbs up.
Thank you for that timeout so we could get that set up. Commissioners, good morning. My name is Jeff Tross. I'm a land use consultant, Tross Consulting, Inc., 1720 Liberty Street Southeast, Salem, 97301, here this morning on behalf of the Marion Investment Group for this application.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, Kevin Hines, Marion Resource Recovery Facility, 3680 Brook Lake Road, Salem, Oregon. So I'm going to start off here and give an overview of our facility, our operations, where we started, where we currently are, and then what our future plans are, given the reason why we're here today. And then I will turn it over to Jeff, and he will go through the application and the hearings officer's report. And any time during this, please don't hesitate if you have any questions, jump right in. So Marion Resource Recovery Facility, known as the MRF, is equally owned by all of the local garbage and recycling collectors here in Marion County, and they've been doing so for decades now. They're the ones that own the current facility where we're located. Our current facility is located on Brook Lake Road. We're just under 5.5 acres, and we started a pilot program, if you will, dump and pick operation back in the early 90s, knowing that there was a lot of C&D type material that was going to the waste energy facility or other disposal locations. And we realized that there's a lot of...
Kevin, let me interrupt for the people that are watching C&D.
I'm sorry,
Thank you.
Construction and demolition.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we realized that there's a lot of this material that was going into those facilities that we could recover. So at that point, it went on for a few years, and then we were pulling this wood, concrete, cardboard type of material out of those drop box industrial loads. And a few years went by, and we realized, okay, there's a lot more than what we thought in those boxes. So we got to do something that's a little bit more efficient, rather than dumping this stuff. The dump and pick was really bring this material in, dump it on the floor, kind of hand sort it, pick through it, and then we realized that that's not very efficient. We got to do something a little bit different. So we'll fast forward to 2000, year 2000, 1999, we started construction. April of 2000, we built a 36,000 square foot, basically warehouse facility on the current 5.5 acres that we're on, with a new sorting equipment. And at that time, it was pretty state of the art. So how that went was these industrial drop boxes would back up into the warehouse, they would dump it on the floor, a loader operator would push this material to an excavator and an infeed conveyor belt. The excavator would then grab this material, load it onto this infeed belt, it would go up this belt, it would go through a shaker screen, it would shake all of the small little fine stuff out that wasn't recoverable, it would then go up on top to another conveyor belt, and we would have 6 to 8 to 10 employees up there manually hand sorting. So we would hand sort cardboard, concrete, metal, gypsum board, that type of stuff. But it was much more efficient than what we were doing in the past. So that was April of 2000. In 2001, we had handled approximately 28,000 tons of material that came through that facility. So now from 2001 to 2018, there were a number of things that happened. We were also recovering that type of material that was coming through our facility. And then during that time, the haulers incorporated a yard debris program. So all of the yard debris route trucks would come to our facility. They would dump on the ground. We would push it into a trailer. We would reload it, and then we'd take it to the process and recovery facility down in Corvallis. Way more efficient, less transportation costs than every one of the single trucks going to that facility direct. So then a commingle program, started a commingle program in that point in time too, and we did the same thing. So we bring the commingle into our facility, push it into a trailer, reload it, and run it up to a processing facility.
And again, just for people watching, commingle would be their blue bins.
Commingle would be your curbside program, yes.
Right.
Correct, yes. So that was more of like a transfer station rather than running these individual route trucks to the facilities, which would hold about 8 to 10 tons per truck. We can get 25 to 30 tons in a trailer, so cut transportation costs down, and rather than having, again, those individual trucks running to those facilities. So that was from 2001 to 2018. So we'll fast forward now to last year. Again, our first year in 2001, we had 28,000 tons coming through our facility. Last year in 2018, 170,000 tons came through our facility. Again, that includes the yard debris, the commingle, and then it includes the industrial boxes that comes on our tipping floor and then gets processed. So of that 170,000 tons, 115,000 tons went through our processing facility. That was the construction and demo type of stuff that we felt that we could recover, the cardboard, the wood, the metal, that type of stuff. So with the current operations that we have and the equipment, again, the 115,000 tons came through, we were able to recover about 20% of that material. So 20% of that would have gone to the landfill or to the waste energy facility is now getting pulled out and we're shipping it to market. Efficiency-wise, we're able to process about 20 to 25 tons an hour. And labor-wise, we are running 7 days a week right now, and May through September is seasonal, depending upon the yard debris. We're running double shifts. So that's currently where we are right now. So now we're going to fast forward into
Can I ask you a quick question? So total was 170,000 tons, and you just said you can process 20 to 25?
Of the 100, so you got to realize, of that 170,000 tons, if that's total material coming through our facility, there's yard debris that doesn't get processed, commingle. So 115,000 tons actually gets processed.
Right.
20% of that we recover.
I got that, but then you just said you could process 20 to 25,000 tons.
20 to 25 tons per hour.
20 to 25 tons per hour. Okay, thank you.
Yes. So that's currently where we are right now. Again, why we're here, why we want to expand on the adjacent property, our footprint is just literally too small right now for that amount of material, and we don't have room for growth. So with our expansion, our goal, our plan for our expansion is to expand, like Joe had mentioned, on 17 acres adjacent to the south of us, behind us. We'd like to build a 70,000 square foot warehouse facility, basically exactly what we have right now, just twice as big on that 17 acres. And is what that will allow us to do. The equipment now is just so much more advanced. It's going to give us a lot more room than we currently have. So our plan is to build that facility. The equipment that's out there right now will allow us to recover 40% of the material that's coming through. So we're going to go from 20% to 40%. Our efficiency is going to go from 20 to 25 tons an hour process up to 60 to 65 tons an hour. And then also on the labor piece of it, like I said, we're running 7 days a week, running second shifts. This will allow us to run one shift 5 days a week, Monday through Friday.
With less labor?
Less labor. The technology over the course of the last 20 years obviously is advanced, and that's allowing less labor, more tons processed per hour, and a better recovery rate, almost double.
Okay, thank you.
So before I turn it over to Jeff, we're at the point now to where, and I did not mention that we also bring in roughly about 20 or about 15,000 tons from the waste to energy facility. So when they're at capacity, or if they shut down, they have an annual shutdown, they divert that material to us. Again, we reload it into trailers and we ship it down to the landfill, rather than sending individual trucks down there.
Is this the only facility in Marion County that does this, or is there?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So all the haulers bring this material?
And I guess
to
I should mention that we are now taking all of the North Marion Transfer Station and Salem Kaiser Transfer Station material to us.
If I could just mind, I'm curious, so everything goes smoothly, you'd like to be in operation when?
We'd like to be in operation 18 months from now, probably closer to 2 years. We are ready to go right now. As you can see, we have a consultant that we've been working with for almost a year and a half now. We have the design plan. We've got the equipment piece all ready to go. So, you know, once we get through the land piece, we're ready to start going out for RFPs.
So I don't want to get off the subject of what we're talking about here. I'm really interested in the new facility and the processing and how that's going to contribute to the overall solid waste management program. We're dealing with a land use issue here today. So I don't want, you're prompting me to ask a lot of questions that are off the issue. So maybe we can do a work session on that particular subject at some point in time and really get into the details, because we know it's an important topic. So questions for Kevin before, all right? So Jeff?
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Commissioners. Nice to see you again. And Commissioner Willis, this is my first appearance before you, so nice to be seeing you today as well. Well, as the hearings officer noted in her recommendation report to you, this is an unusual application, which is one of the larger understatements that I've seen in. I'm sorry. That one of the larger understatements I've seen in a hearings officer's report. Not only is it an unusual application because of the various procedures and the complexity of their relationship, it's a very complex application. And because this application is so unusual and complex, frankly, we were not terribly surprised by the recommendation from the hearings officer. And since the hearings officer made clear what was needed to fix the application and provide the additional information, we have made every effort to do so, and that is in the supplemental report that you received prior to this hearing. And we now feel that we have addressed each of the points from the hearings officer's report on a point-by-point basis and have filled in the gaps that she found to be necessary in order for this application to be approved. So the unusual complexity of this application is the result of the specific circumstances of this particular use and its location inside the urban community boundary, or the Brooks-Hopmere urban community boundary, and the various state and county policies that govern land use within as well as outside of the urban community. This is a one-of-a-kind proposal that has its basis in county programs and services, as evidenced by the county solid waste management plan, which is a part of the record in this case. And when you read the SWMP, there is frequent and elaborate reference to the relationship between the recycling and recovery facility and the county solid waste disposal program at the waste to energy facility, which we now call the Covanta plant. The application itself consists of three components, which Joe Fenimore reviewed for you earlier. There's a request for a comprehensive plan amendment and zone change for the property on which the existing resource recovery facility sits. It's right along Brook Lake Road. It's inside the Brooks-Hopmere community boundary. It's currently zoned IUC, which stands for Unincorporated Community Industrial. The proposal is to redesignate that property alone to EFU, a rather unusual proposition for an industrial property that's inside the community boundary. Another component of the application is a conditional use permit, which applies to the proposed expansion area, which is property that is zoned EFU and lies outside of the unincorporated community boundary. And the third component is a partitioning to take two strips of land that are a part of a EFU property that is outside the boundary and allow them to be consolidated with the existing recovery facility site and the expansion area so that it can form a contiguous tract. And all of these things are essential. Each one of these components are essential to this application and its approval, because without any one of them, the existing facility would not be able to expand. As I've mentioned, the materials recovery and recycling facility is an integral part of the county solid waste management program, So in order for it to operate successfully into the future, as you've heard Kevin describe in more detail than I will, all of these elements are necessary or else it cannot do so. The existing location for the recovery and recycling facility was originally approved by conditional use permit in 1987. This is important for a number of reasons. In 1987, we did not have the unincorporated community or the unincorporated community rule. That didn't take place until about the year 2000. There are also provisions in the existing policies and zone code that applies within the unincorporated community for expansion of facilities that existed as of 1994 and other dates beyond that. So the important thing is that the approval for the recycling and recovery facility occurred long before there were any such things as unincorporated communities or the goal exception that was necessary in order for the boundary to be formed. And that's part of the reason we get into the complexity we have today. When the unincorporated community boundary was put in place, adopted by the county in the year 2000, the waste-to-energy facility was included within the boundary. And when it was included within the boundary, it was done so in the EFU zone. So what we have now is the county's final disposal facility within the community boundary in an EFU zone. What we're proposing today is nearly identical to what that situation is. We're proposing another type of solid waste disposal facility, the Recovery and Recycling Center, also to be zoned EFU and within the boundary. So really, if we break this down into its most simplified form, the proposal to redesignate the Recovery and Recycling Facility to EFU would place it in exactly the same status as the waste-to-energy facility, which is inside the boundary and zoned EFU. So there's an analogous situation, there's a consistency in doing this, and in the future, the two primary waste handling or waste disposal facilities in the county will be in the same zone within the same community boundary. And I guess I should mention that even though the recovery and recycling facility is thought of somewhat differently than the waste-to-energy facility, it is also defined as a solid waste disposal site by state statute and administrative rules. So we're really dealing with the same thing here, waste disposal sites inside the community boundary, both of which would be zoned EFU if you approve this land use change. Now, the expansion of the existing MRRF, Materials Recovery and Recycling Facility, onto property adjacent to it, which is already zoned, currently zoned EFU, is only possible if the existing facility itself is zoned EFU. And that's the basis for requesting the change from the industrial zone to the EFU zone. According to the administrative rules that apply to the EFU zone, you cannot place a new solid waste disposal facility in the EFU zone, but you can expand an existing solid waste facility if that facility is already in the EFU zone. So things get pretty complicated here because we're actually reversing the course of history for the Brooks-Hopmere unincorporated community by requesting that a property that was brought into the boundary and placed in the county's new IUC zone, it was new at that time, be zoned back to EFU so that it can be expanded onto adjacent EFU land. So to clarify that and just put the same words in another sequence, unless the existing recovery facility is zoned EFU, it cannot be expanded onto the adjacent land. So the terminology and the requirements for the EFU zone are what drive the comp plan amendment and zone change for the existing facility. In addition to that, as Joe mentioned, in order for the facility to exist in the EFU zone inside the community boundary, it must be deemed to be a utility facility. It's not deemed as a utility facility now. It needs to be recognized as a utility facility. And again, this is exactly the same as the burn plant, because when the burn plant was brought into the boundary in the EFU zone, It was done so on the basis that the county determined it to be a utility facility, as that term is used and defined in the EFU zone. So one thing leads to another. We have a request to change industrial property to a farm zone with an existing use on it that is not a farm use, and that use must be deemed to be a utility facility in order for that to occur, all of which pertains to its expansion onto adjacent land, which is outside of the community boundary and zoned EFU. And I hope I don't have to repeat that again, because I probably won't be able to do it exactly the same way. This process, this whole application began with lengthy discussions with county staff about a year ago about how to do this. And the county staff worked hard, and we worked hard to come up with the methodology that was actually in place but had never been used to do this. So before we even filed this application, which was last December, we spent about 3 months in dialogue and conversations back and forth with county staff to figure out just how this could be done. And it can be done, and this is how it can be done, and this is what it requires to do it. That's a very convenient statement, I think. We've examined the impacts for the expansion according to the criteria that apply to each of the regulatory components of this application. There are different criteria that apply to the comp plan amendment and zone change, and different criteria that apply to the conditional use permit, and then there are criteria for the proposed partitioning, all of which have been addressed in the application, in which we have subsequently gone back and re-examined and addressed in our supplemental report to you in response to the hearings officer's statement. Although there are separate criteria or separate sets of criteria that apply to each of the various application components, they tend to examine the entire effect or the entire impact of the expansion as a whole, because they say similar things. For example, one of the primary requirements is we have to determine that there will be no significant adverse impact on surrounding farm uses. This is a standard part of doing anything in the EFU zone. We have done so. The existing operation has been in place for many years. There's never been any indication that it's caused any adverse impacts on surrounding lands and farm use. The DEQ has conducted periodic inspections of the facility. The most recent one was in March of this year. There is language, there are comments in the narrative that says no dust was observed, no odors were observed, noise is within regulatory levels. So there's nothing that would indicate that even with the expansion, there would be any adverse impacts on farm uses on surrounding lands that are in zone farm use, and that's extremely important. We've also submitted for the record the facility's operating plan, which describes how they prevent and mitigate potential impacts, and that's very informative and very instructive, because you can see they have a strong program in place for maintaining a high-quality operation and preventing off-site impacts. So I think that is probably enough about the regulatory aspects of this proposal. I'm sure you've been informed by Joe Fenimore and staff about everything that's involved here. It's unusual. It's, I believe, a one-of-a-kind application. I'm not sure that we'd be likely to see another one quite like it. I don't think we have in the past 30 or 40 years. Hopefully we won't in the next 30 or 40 years as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I only have one. I was going to ask it for Joe, but this is new to me with a community boundary. I've just never really dealt with it before. And how would it relate to like an urban growth boundary? And how come you don't adjust that boundary to include all the new property? Should that have been addressed?
Yeah, that's a really good question. The community boundary, as you know, is similar to an urban growth boundary, but it's not. The purpose of the community boundary is to identify an unincorporated area that is highly developed with urban-type uses, but which simply is not an incorporated city or town. In fact, there are different categories of communities within the state's unincorporated community rule. For example, there's rural community, that's a designation. There's rural service center, which mainly applies to freeway interchanges. And then there's unincorporated community, which identifies or designates a higher and more intense level of development. Brooks has the distinction of a little bit of a different or an additional designation. It's an urban unincorporated community. So throughout our application, you see the abbreviation UUC, Urban Unincorporated Community. I think there's only one other in the state, and I believe it's in Jackson County, and I can't tell you what it's named. But because Brooks looks and feels and acts like a small town, it has this special designation, and I believe that's why the state created this term, urban unincorporated community. But your question is, why not just expand the boundary? And the answer to that is, in the adopted Brooks-Hopmere Community Plan, expansion of the boundary is prohibited.
Oh.
We don't have that choice. Yep.
All right, thank you.
I'm sure any questions?
I had a few. So if this zone change occurs and the land's zoned EFU, then if for some reason the facility ceases to operate, then that would be the approved zone for the region, right? And it would have to go back to farm use, is that right?
Well, it would be, the uses that would be available for the property are those that are allowed in the EFU zone,
Yeah.
which are few, although there are conditional uses that could be proposed. It could be a food processing operation, other things that might be related to farm use. But yes, the uses would be strictly limited by those that would be allowed in the EFU zone.
And the only way this works is for it to be zoned EFU.
Right. Right, I can't understand it either, but yeah.
It's very interesting. Well, I mean, we like to protect our farm ground around here, so this is one of those
We're
interesting.
going to add some more farm ground.
This is one of those interesting situations where we can,
We're just farming different things. Right?
It's a different commodity.
Well, okay.
Yeah. Well, I know I read through your, I'm sure all of us spent a lot of time on this file and read through point by point. And this was really educational for me as I did that. I read through the hearings officer and took all these notes, and I'm going, okay, where is the information? And then I saw your report, and you went in detail, point by point, with the hearings officer and answered all those questions. I'm looking over at Jane. Jane, do you have any comments from legal counsel?
I just have one question, if I may. So I agree, the materials submitted after the hearing address most of the points that go to water. It is still up to the board to make a finding whether this is a utility facility. So, and if you do that, then a lot of these other questions are answered. So my remaining question for the applicant.
Can you get the microphone a little closer?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Is on page 26, under paragraph 36, the hearings officer noted that any minimum size of any new lot shall be 1.25 acres. And in your response, I wasn't clear if you were saying, well, the other lot was less than that, so this one should be, or are you addressing her? It seems like she's making a technical finding there.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if you addressed that technical finding.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
The answer, the question has to do with the strip of land that's adjacent on the east side of the existing site. It shows up as a dark strip to the right of the existing site on the site plan there. That strip of land is actually a part of a farm property to the south that is outside the boundary and zoned EFU. But that strip of land running from that farm property up to Brook Lake Road is zoned IUC, and it's inside the community boundary. The hearings officer was concerned that that property is about 0.7 of an acre. It's less than an acre. The minimum lot size in the IUC zone is 1.25 acres. So the hearings officer was basically asking, how can you create a new lot in the IUC zone that is less than the minimum lot size? The answer is, first, that strip of land is currently a part of the farm property, but when the county created the Brooks-Hopmere boundary, it included that strip of land. So ever since the boundary was put in place in the year 2000, here's this 0.7 acre strip of land that is already zoned IUC. So a new lot is not being created at this time. It was created essentially by the county when the county drew the boundary line and included that strip and not the rest of the property. So it's IUC today. It's going to remain IUC because that's not part of our rezoning request. So it's not a new lot. Because it's inside the boundary and zoned IUC, it can't be considered part of the farm land to the south because it's not zoned for farm use, and it's not in the rural area where farmland exists.
But my guess is the records don't show that. It's still part of the same lot in the tax.
That's right. It's still part of tax lot 1800 to the south, but our partitioning proposal includes dividing that strip of land off right at the community boundary. So there'll be no change in the farm zoned area of tax lot 1800, the parcel that it's currently a part of.
So your argument is that the lot was created back in 2000, and we're just now updating our records to.
Essentially, that's correct. Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Anything else?
I'd like to hear from Joe, maybe.
Well, that's what we'll call Joe back up, but Jane, anything else?
No, that's all I had.
Commissioner, good? Gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You did this in about 15 minutes, I can tell.
Well,
all right. Sure. Mr. Fenimore.
Questions?
What's your perspective on this, Joe?
I think that it satisfies the criteria. We have very big sideboards with statewide zoning, as you know, and they were able to find a path through the necessary criteria, and basically this is the only way this could happen, this expansion. The community boundary was established in 2000, but it was based on the uses going on, I believe, in the mid-90s. There was a date, and so your boundary could only include properties that had those uses. You couldn't add, like an urban growth boundary, you couldn't add an area for future growth. It was set. You had to come in and say, there's a church here and residences here and this, and that's where the boundary went based on that. So it's, I don't know of anyone that's tried to expand the boundary since that happened.
I mean, this is very elegant, and I'm not asking you for certainty because you can't know for certain this sort of a question, but if someone were to challenge this, you feel like it's pretty solid?
I do, yes.
Just to a follow-up question, one I asked Joe yesterday, but I went through all the hearings officers' comments and conditions not met, and then reading the same paper we're referring to, asked Joe, so does that meet the criterion? Would you again, Joe?
I believe it does, yes.
The only thing I have left is, so do we just say it's a utility, or what evidence do we have that it is? We heard some that it's similar to already defined enterprises.
I believe you would say that for the purposes of the Brooks-Hopmere Community Plan and the relationship between the two facilities, that it acts as a utility facility also, and therefore can be placed in the EFU zone.
And again, defendable statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I read that, and highlighting utility, question mark, and when I post my bills, when my garbage bill comes in, I post it under utilities. I've done it in my restaurant operations, I've done it personally, it's a utility.
So I want to make it clear, though, this is for this specific provision in this plan, not for any other purpose.
I get it.
All right, I just want to make that clear to them.
And what our personal opinions are of utility may not necessarily be what the OARs say, so it's important that it stands up, right?
Well, I guess I use too much common sense. I'm always in trouble because I use common sense.
So
Too
maybe in the findings,
Mr.
when it says
Practical.
utility, it'll say C, Commissioner Cameron.
Common sense.
Checking.
See his QuickBook accounts, exactly. Right, all right. Anything else for Joe?
I have one thing.
Yes, Joe.
Is the applicant agreeable to the conditions? I believe that you said that at the hearing, but I wanted the proposed conditions. I just would like to verify that.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. Thank you, Joe, because I overlooked that. Condition N of the hearings officer's report limits hours of operation till 9:30 p.m. We would like that to be 11 p.m.
Saw that in your report.
Thanks.
Are you operating now 24/7? No?
Nope.
Okay.
2 shifts.
If I could just ask, so why is that extra hour and a half important? I mean, obviously you get more production shift-wise, but we get some evidence that it affects nobody, there's no concerns that enterprises, neighbors, et cetera?
It's 2 full shifts.
Okay.
Are those your current hours of operation?
Current hours of operation is until 10:30. That would only be from the inside.
Wait, we need this on the record. Thank you. Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you. So, no, that just extends 2 full shifts. That would only entail the processing inside the building. That would not entail trucks driving in and out of the facility. Currently, right now, we only have trucks going in until 4:30 or 5:30. So, again, the extent of that time frame would only be for the processing inside the facility, so we can make 2 shifts. And that's in the future. Currently, right now, going into the new facility, we're only looking to go Monday through Friday, 1 shift.
Right.
So that could be 5, 10, 20 years down the road.
Right. So just to be clear, you can have trucks come in anytime you want. It's, the limitation here would be only for
Would only be for the processing.
operations,
inside, correct.
right? Because
We just wanted to make sure our operating plan did not extend it to those hours. So we just wanted to be clear that we may need to extend to those hours in the future.
So, okay.
Okay.
Good point, Joe. Thank you. And that is in conditions, so we want to, in the motion, make sure that's clear. All right.
I'm ready to make a motion.
You ready?
Just so, and maybe Jane can help, it seems like in this, there's 2 things we want to mention, some declaration that we consider this a utility, so we're very clear about that, and then this new condition and extension to 11 is the 2 I've heard. Is there anything else?
That's what I find. That's what I hear.
Okay.
Joe, anything else you think
No,
of?
that sounds right.
Okay. So we'll make the motion, make sure that's clear, and then. All right, just a minute, make sure I get it right.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I move that we close the public hearing, considering zone change comprehensive plan amendment conditional use partition case number 18-006, Marion Investment Group LLC, and that we approve the request with the declaration that we find that the Marion Resource Recovery Facility is a utility, and with a change of condition N, that the facility shall operate from 4:30 a.m. to 11 p.m., except in emergency situations, as provided for in MCC 17.120.325C.
I'll second it.
Is that clear?
That's clear, yes.
We're good?
Yes.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Thank you.
We can use this as a case study for some
College course somewhere.
planning college course, huh? No, never?
No, I don't think so.
Wow. Thank you. All right. I'm not gonna, so we are done with our public hearing, and I guess we closed that already, so we can read the calendar for where we're gonna be in the next hour or two, week.
Okay, today's August 14th. It's 9 a.m. We're in board session at the Center Hearing Room, first floor of 555 Court Street Northeast in Salem. This afternoon at 12:30, we have a Mid-Valley Jobs Council located at the Willamette Workforce Partnership Boardroom, 626 High Street in Salem. Tomorrow, Thursday, August 15th at 8 in the morning, we have a City of Salem, Marion County meeting at the Sassy Onion located at 1244 State Street in Salem. On Monday, August 19th at 8:30 in the morning, we have calendar review located in the Silverton Conference Room on the 5th floor of this building, 555 Court Street Northeast in Salem. On Monday, August 19th at 9 a.m., we have management update located in the Silverton Conference Room on the 5th floor of this building, 555 Court Street Northeast in Salem. On Monday, August 19th at 11 in the morning, we have a Board of Commissioners Chief Administrative Officer meeting with an executive session if needed pursuant to ORS 192.660. And it will begin immediately following management update, located again in the Silverton Conference Room on the 5th floor of this building, 555 Court Street Northeast in Salem. On Tuesday, August 20th at 1:30 in the afternoon, we have a work session on workplace safety, located in the Silverton Conference Room on the 5th floor of this building, 555 Court Street Northeast in Salem. And on Wednesday, August 21st at 9 in the morning, we have board session located in the Senator Hearing Room on the 1st floor of this building, it's this room, 555 Court Street Northeast in Salem.
Wow.
You know, that was, you really hit on it. That was pretty complicated. That's why professional people have to do that. This land use planning system far too
It's very complicated.
detailed, intricate. What's another word for it? Yeah, I got a word, but it doesn't work.
Complicated.
That the normal person could never find that path.
I was sitting there impressed with our staff that they had worked through it so well with the applicant before it came to us. It gives me a lot of confidence in them, you know.
Well, when I said use it as a case study, Joe was just shaking his head, no. But, yeah, you know, the detail they have and understanding of the whole land use process just boggles my mind.
So, don't have too much else to report. Is it next? Oh, no, you guys leave for Washington in about 2 weeks.
September
Oh, a
8th.
whole month then, huh?
Yeah.
They're gonna leave me in charge. Does that scare you?
No, because Jan and Jane have you cornered on both sides. So I'm in complete confidence
County's
that
incapable
we will
hands.
come back and everything will still be standing straight, even though you might be leaning crooked.
There might be some new policies, like
Just
a
don't stage
pizza
a,
Thursday, something important.
just don't stage a walkout while we're
Oh,
gone.
that'd be a good one. I could organize a
Speaking of
protest.
which, did you, don't go downtown Portland this weekend, or whenever that is. They're warning businesses about the demonstrations, and I don't even know what it's about.
I'll
What a
tell you what
shame.
it's about.
It's a
It's a
shame.
dirty deal. So, when it's the other side, Portland, they don't care. The mask guys come in, it's fine. But now that it's the right coming, now we're gonna crack heads.
What are
That's
they,
the difference.
Wait, what's happening? I don't, what are they warning people?
They're going to be some non-permitted, did I miss one? Non-permitted
Oh, it just doesn't need
demonstrations.
to be notarized.
I just think it's such a
Notarized. I thought it had to be
shame
notary.
that we
All right.
have, I mean, they're basically fights, right? I mean, you basically have these groups of people that are publicly fighting. This is like something out of the 18th century or
What,
something.
yeah,
I
what
mean,
is
it's
the
like,
demonstrations about? I don't even know. I
One's
just heard.
just a right side. Of course, the press portrays them as white nationalists and all this kind of stuff. And then, of course, the left comes in with their so-called Antifa people. And they're all right in Portland, by the way. And they don't work to keep them apart. Yeah, you're asking for trouble.
I just think one of the victories of our system, one of the great things about our system is that we have arguments, we have political disagreements, and it's peaceful. You have peaceful elections.
Change power without
peace, right?
Yeah, without any
And
fighting.
so this idea that you would have politically motivated people fighting in the streets, this is a huge step
Civil
backward.
War time.
Right? This is not what America does.
And let's talk about masks. That's so hard for them, that you can't be in these demonstrations and be precluded from wearing a mask. Doesn't that just incite you to to feel free to do anything you like? That's so easy.
I think it's indicative of the behavior they're exhibiting, right? They don't want to be seen doing what they're doing.
Now, I will say people are worried about it. I went into Public Works yesterday and met with emergency management, and they were doing a kind of a region-wide network starting to anticipate call-ups, National Guard, different, there's a system, I forget the initials, that is watching and
Yeah,
ready
10
to
years
come
ago, I
into
remember
play.
this was going on in Greece, right? Wasn't it? About 10 years ago?
Yeah, different parts
And
of the
it's
world.
here now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. On another subject, Sunday I was trying to get to the airport, and I use Waze, right, to tell me which way to go, and I kept saying, well, why can't I go up I-5 and across to 84? Well, I read about it in the newspapers, because they had all the bridges closed down for, I mean, they had the Markham Bridge, every bridge was closed down for the bike ride.
Oh, isn't that nice?
So it was a total traffic deal, but I went up 205.
You
'cause
should have been riding a bike. You would have gotten right through.
Yeah,
Why don't you just get along for once, Kevin?
yeah. No, I made it. It was fine. But I was like, okay, what's going on up there? It doesn't tell you what, but it's basically saying, don't go this way. You'll be in trouble. It'll take you an extra 45 minutes. Yeah. Anything else?
Yeah, there's a fun one that we haven't
Yeah.
talked about, but I'm kind of into it. I should support him. In fact, I will. This wait now, where are they from? Is it West Salem? The baseball team playing.
Yeah,
Little League.
Sprague.
Sprague. I knew
Yeah,
it wasn't
go on,
West
Little League
Salem.
World Series. How cool is that?
I watched a
Wait.
couple of them. They're good.
I watched the girls last night.
Yes.
Till the 6th inning.
They
Who
went
ended-
into overtime and lost. Their
They
extra
did?
innings. Yeah, 3-2 if I got it right.
Oh,
But
bummer.
this team from Sprague is, that's pretty special.
Yeah.
First time ever, huh?
Kelsey Wilson, whose son is on that, I saw her on the news. She's actually a lobbyist over in the Capitol. They had her and her husband on the news talking about what a great thing it is to go.
Is he the one that said a smile on my face and a tear in my eye that they were showing? Was that
I'm
him?
not sure, but their son is on the team.
Big deal.
So I'll be watching
It's a big
anyway.
deal. No team from Salem has ever.
So they're in the finals.
Well, the World Series, I
Yeah,
don't know what the format there,
yeah.
when you get, I think it's double elimination, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even I'm gonna be wearing orange now.
Really?
Yeah.
I should have worn orange stuff today in support of them. Well, maybe it'll still be going on next week. I don't know how long it goes, but that's great that they got there.
Yeah.
That
That's
was
a good
the
one.
Little League that I actually coached my daughters in, was that
I
Sprague.
thought you were gonna say you're some kind of star yourself.
No, I remember when I was 12 years old, and I made the All-Star team in
Oh,
Little League.
That's good.
Yeah, and my parents were taking a vacation to the Tetons.
Wait, nobody
Yellowstone.
came? Oh.
Yellowstone
feel
and
sorry for you
Tetons,
still.
and my mom looked at me and said, you can stay home and play in the All-Stars, or you can go on vacation. And I thought, I'm gonna go on vacation with my parents. I didn't play in the All-Stars.
That was the end, huh?
Maybe they would have gone to the World
End
Series
of your
if I would have
baseball
played.
career. I struck out in T-ball.
What do I see?
Oh, my God.
I did, yeah.
Whoa, that's not.
Yeah, so you miss
Yes,
the
I
ball
know what
like
it is.
so many times, and then eventually the coach just comes over and goes, "Why don't we let somebody else have a turn?"
Now I know why
You didn't know you could strike out in T-ball.
Now I know why he plays soccer. He has to use his feet.
Let me, left field, Kevin?
Huh?
Left field?
No, I was a pitcher in right field. Pitcher in right field. Yeah, no, I played all different positions, but I stopped playing baseball my sophomore year. My sophomore year in high school was my last year, and I went out for the golf team and made the golf team my junior and senior year. Played golf, and then I went to UC Irvine, and they had won the national championship, the NCAA baseball championship, a couple years before I went to school there. And I thought, I'm going to make a comeback. And I played like 3 or 4 preseason games. My arm was falling off. I couldn't do it. So, yeah.
So you golf like a baseball player then? You got
Actually,
one of those big swings.
yeah, I can do it.
All right.
All right.
We're born, everybody, with
All
your
right.
story.
Trom, thank you for your work today. We thank CCTV for always being here for us, and we will adjourn.